Welcome to the Huddle Sports Network, where we're breaking boundaries and redefining podcasting. Broadcasting live on 6 different platforms, we're bringing you the latest in sports like never before. Imagine tuning in to real-time discussions, expert analyses, and fan interactions all at your fingertips. Each platform offers a unique experience, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. We're not just sharing stories, we're creating a community of passionate sports enthusiasts. Join us as we dive deep into the evolution of podcasting, where every episode is a chance to engage, debate, and celebrate the world of sports. This is where your voice matters and the game never stops. Welcome to the Huddle Sports Network, where we're breaking boundaries and redefining podcasting. Broadcasting live on 6 different platforms, we're bringing you the latest in sports like never before, where sports passion meets podcasting brilliance. I'm Mike, the Bear fan, and alongside Bill, the Packer fan, and our buddy Ken Catalone, we're bringing you an incredible lineup of 38 diverse podcasters. Each one brings their unique flavor to the table, covering everything from game analysis to behind-the-scenes stories. Imagine diving deep into the minds of experts who live and breathe football, sharing insights that you won't find anywhere else.
And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on the Huddle Sports Network. I'm Taylor Phillips. He's Ed Smith. Wow, what a heck of a new video produced by Michael Carrico of the Huddle Sports Network. So we got Lions, Red Wings, and Pistons to talk about, but mostly Lions. Also, we'll just quickly preview the game and mention a little college hoops for a bit before we wrap it up. But first off, the Lions beat the Indianapolis Colts 24-6 to improve to 10-1. Jahmyr Gibbs, 2 touchdowns. David Montgomery, 1 touchdown before he hurt his shoulder, which we'll get to later on. He did come back on the sideline with his helmet on and a shoulder pad. Hint, hint. The defense held their second straight opponent to just 6 points and hasn't allowed a single point in the second half in 3 straight games. They outscored their last 3 opponents 53-0. The defense also pressurized Anthony Richardson. That's what they do best, by the way, to the tune of 11 hurries and 6 quarterback hits that sped up his clock. Just 11 of 28 and just 172 passing yards. The Colts offense was limited to minimal trips to Lions territory after getting off to a decent start in yardage. But the Lions offense wasted no time when they first got the ball after kicking off to open the game. The Colts, of course, coming up with the game's first score with a field goal, just like the Jaguars did, but no problemo whatsoever. Again, Lions offense 3 for 4 in the red zone. That game, the Colts were 0 for 2. Jack Fox also 4 punts, 192 total yards of distance, according to Dan Campbell in his locker room post-game celebration. 48 average yards per punt, all 4 punts inside the 20-yard line, including a 60-yarder, which is Jack Fox, all right. Incredible. Now, a few other Lions players left the game hurt, at least, besides Montgomery. Khalif Raymond with a foot injury. Carlton Davis with a knee and thumb, Taylor Dicker with a knee, and Amon-Ra St. Brown also with a knee. But again, Ed, their defense was again the story of the game, while the offense just did what it does best.
Really, if honestly, you could say this was a team effort, but I agree, Taylor. The story of this game, and frankly, you could say the story of this season has been the Lions' defense. Because frankly, I think we were both under the agreement, the agreement on the same point, or at least a similar point, that for this season, coming into this year, that the Lions, they had the offensive capability to make some noise and be a team to be not to be messed with. But the only issue was whether or not could they fix some things in their defense. We thought, hey, if they had just maybe a mid-level, mid-tier kind of defense, they could still be a Super Bowl contender. Now, with how their defense has been going, how they're operating, how they already know how to stop the run, and now even despite injury after injury to their linebackers, to their defensive front, to their front seven in general, they're still producing. They're still getting after the quarterback. They're still even though they may bend a little bit, but they don't break. They find ways to shut you down in the red zone. And even though they didn't get a takeaway in this game, they find ways to still create pressure and put themselves in position to get those takeaways. It was clearly evident throughout that game how they were, even though despite giving up some early runs to Richardson, they made adjustments, they settled down, they kept him in contained that whole entire game. They held him to was under 50% completion percentage through the air. The run defense staying stingy. They held Jonathan Taylor well in check. And in terms of scoring defense, the name of the game in this league is to score points and to not give up points. And frankly, what they have done on the defense side of the ball with not giving up a touchdown, let alone giving up multiple touchdowns in the game through the air, they've yet to still do that, by the way, throughout the course of the season. No quarterback has yet thrown 2 touchdowns in a single game against this defense, knock on wood. And speaking of to that effect, this was the first time since 1999 in which the defense did not allow a single touchdown in back-to-back games. So not only have they not given up a touchdown in back-to-back games, 10 straight quarters, going back all the way back to the Houston game. We're talking about 3 straight second halves where the defense did not give up nada. Okay, if that's not a testament to Aaron Glenn and what he's been doing, and mind you, this was despite injuries early on and throughout the year to your main guys on that front seven, and now even recently with the Anzalone injury, that forced guys to step up in the linebacker room. Guys like Jack Campbell, guys like Malcolm Rodriguez, and they more than delivered. Those 2 guys I just mentioned, Cracker Jack and Rodrigo, those are your top 2 leading tacklers on that day. So the defense should be more than proud of themselves because as a result of what they've done cumulatively, not only are they at a league low um, defensive third down conversion rate, which is at 29.8%. That shows you how good, by the way, that they are at getting off the field on third down. What was the one thing we've been saying year after year on this program? The Lions need to find ways to get off the field on third down, and they have found a way to obviously master it to a sense that they're among the league's best, if not the very best in that specific department. And again, you mentioned injuries before. You mentioned Taylor Decker, Cleve Raymond, David Montgomery. But on the defensive side, of course, yes, Carlton Davis, he had the knee injury. That's obviously going to prevent him from playing in this week's game against Bears. But not only that, they were dealing with injuries coming into the game. Remember, Ennis Rakestraw and Terry Arnold, both their rookies in their secondary, were going to be out. Manuel Mosley was not back yet. Ife Melifonwu still on the injury report himself. So there was a lot of injury issues, not just within the front seven, but also in the secondary in general. So the fact that, despite the fact that we had to see the likes of Kendall Vildor out there, for example, and the Lions still was able to hang on and, again, not even get up with a single point is a testament to how they operate within the red zone, how they operate in terms of bending. They've mastered the style of bending but not breaking, and it's a testament to Aaron Glenn.
It is. Yeah, Aaron Glenn continues to do a hell of a job as a defensive coordinator. And
the fact that he was sitting on the bench, with his leg up, and just a calm, cool, relaxed pose, said it all. His team did enough work. He had more than earned that chance to kick his feet up.
Yeah. And there's been more talk about Aaron Glenn becoming a head coach in the future, just like in the past with Ben Johnson in the past.
Yeah, so the Lions fans have to accept the possibility that it's a good chance that we may be losing one of, if not both, our 2 coordinators this upcoming offseason. So that gives even more extra incentive and makes it more imperative that the Lions have to cash in on this opportunity for this year in terms of their Super Bowl window, so to speak, because you don't know how things are going to look next year if you happen to lose both your coordinators.
Exactly. So I mentioned,
on the offensive side of things, at least on the offensive side of things, it was so, yes. But when you're in a game where your defense is dictating the pace, and you have to play the name of the game with field position and flipping the field back and forth with your excellent punter and Jack Fox. You got to know when to pick your spots and know not to do certain things and be careless with the ball. And that's what we saw with the Lions. They picked their spots. They were methodical. They were careful with moving the ball down the field, and you saw what it resulted in. You saw Jameer get his 2 touchdowns, leaving him in terms of yards per gain on the ground about 100 or so shy of 1,000 just for this year. And then you got David Montgomery still getting the touchdown on his end, even though he had to lead the game with a shoulder injury. He did at least confirm or say that it wasn't that serious enough to where if he could have went back in. But he did at least admit and acknowledge that coach, it was probably the smart thing for coach to leave him out for that one and save him for this game for obvious and multitude of reasons. But there's other things, Jamison Williams, who, by the way, just got some extra good news this past week after Sunday's game. Tim Worthy, Wayne County prosecutor, announced that the charges will not be filed against JMO. I repeat, will not be filed against JMO as a result to the incident with the gun in the car. So that's obviously a huge sigh of relief, big sigh of relief for JMO. Gives him opportunity to focus on what he's got to do for the team and keep himself out of trouble as a lesson to be learned, hopefully. But not only that, speaking on the receiving end of things, even though Amon-Ra St. Brown was held to without a touchdown, you still see him getting noteworthy catches to move the ball downfield in key spots when necessary. And not just that, but Tim Patrick was stepping up too.
He keeps stepping up too.
Good couple of plays where Tim Patrick was more than you need to get that type of catch where we might have seen a Josh Reynolds get last year. Tim Patrick is getting that and then some. So that's a definite big check and speaks positively to the type of work that Goff has been trying to put in and not just developing chemistry and cohesion with his receivers and his targets, but just make sure not just we're doing it with one or two, but we're doing it with multiple people. Because you've seen him doing it with Tim Patrick. You saw him do it with JMO. Obviously, he's doing it, keeping things well regarded with his tight ends. You need that when you're in a balanced offense such as this, and your primary job as the quarterback is to be the captain of the ship on each and every drive.
And that captain of the ship is Jared Goff, of course. But Tim Patrick, it has been an excellent X factor for the Lions in the wide receiver department behind Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams, and even the tight ends Samuel Laporta and Brock Wright. They've been stepping up too when healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So the injury report again, Khalif Raymond's going to be out. Of course, he's been placed on the injured reserve. He'll miss 4+ games with a foot injury. He'll still be back in time for the playoffs, just like Alex Anzalone will, even with his broken forearm. Carlton Davis and Taylor Decker are both out. David Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown are questionable. I think they're needed. I think that it'll come down to a game time decision again. But I think the Lions will at least try to use both of them. Terrion Arnold and DJ Reader are in. Arnold is back. DJ Reader was only ill in Monday's practice, but he practiced full Tuesday and Wednesday. So they'll be good too. Also, the Lions waived linebacker James Houston, 8 sacks in 7 games as a rookie, but 1 in his last 10 after significant ankle injury. But as a player of any position, let alone linebacker, you're supposed to come out a lot stronger than that, even after an injury. And James Houston just didn't prove that.
He just had a massive fall off in production. He fell off the rope and just could not find his way back to that rope. And it seemed like the team was giving him enough chances and enough time, if possible, or as much as possible to try and get back to that rope. But just James, he would throw in a good couple of reps here and there, but never was able to stack plays and stack reps consistently in order to give the coaches more than what they needed to see. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out. You could tell they wanted to keep him as much as possible, but if you're not producing, if you're not, not being able to adjust within your role within the team and not holding up in your end of the bargain, they got to find different ways for you.
Right.
Find a new or they got to part ways.
I did hear that. Yep. Back to Khalif Raymond. in terms of replacement, the Lions have signed Maurice Alexander from the practice squad to the active roster. Also, Logan. Oh wait, wrong app. Logan from. Check my repost. Logan Lemerandier of Sports Illustrated covering the Lions. They've signed Maurice Alexander and David Long to the 53-man roster. So David Long is going to replace James Houston, and Maurice Alexander is going to substitute Khalif Raymond. Lemerandier also teased the possibility of Donovan Peoples-Jones called up from the practice squad earlier on, but 4 hours later, the final decision was made by Dan Campbell. It's going to be Maurice Alexander and not Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Which is fine. Alexander, I can easily tell just by the eye test, has more speed, more explosiveness than DPJ has. And obviously, with what you saw on Sunday, Leaf going down the way he did, it was a bit of an emergency situation of what they had to do, who they wanted to put in that spot. So they put Amon-Ra St. Brown in that spot. Aside from a couple of fair catches, he did have one return that obviously had Lions fans holding their breath a little bit. But, despite that, he's still doing fine. So that played into the position, I'm sure, of what they wanted to do with that spot. I wouldn't be surprised if they might have considered putting Sionavaki back there as well. But I think primarily they would want him to be handling, if any snaps, they don't want that to cut into his snaps at running back or whatever the case may be, provided that he ever gets them. But I could see, Alexander got no problem with that. He's just got to make sure that just not to get his head stuck in the lights too much, and try not to muff any punts.
Exactly. All right, let's get to the Thanksgiving Day game Thursday at 12:30 on CBS against the Chicago Bears at Ford Field. Now, one player to watch on defense is Montez Sweat, of course. The offensive line needs to contain him more often, while Goff needs to be on the lookout for him. One X factor that I read on the ESPN app, cornerback Jalen Johnson and the secondary defense for the Bears, 0.9 yards per coverage snap allowed, well below the 1.2 average for outside corners, which is really, really good. So if you're any receiver that he's trying to cover, you gotta as a receiver, you gotta do your best to stay away from him. And then
Tremaine Edmonds is another guy to watch out for on that defensive side of the ball too. They may not have Roquan Smith anymore, but like you said, they have Montez Sweat, they have Edmonds, they have the other guy that you mentioned, they have Edwards as well on that defensive side of the ball. So that Chicago team, that defense, they got some players. They may be a little bit banged up on their end, like say on the offensive side of the ball, particularly missing their one of their starting offensive linemen, but they got some guys. Jonathan Owens is another one. He may be Mr. Simone Biles, but the guy knows how to make a play, knows how to create a takeaway. So if you're the Lions, this is very much a defense that you can't overlook as well, because they can cause some problems for you. Let's not forget the fact that this is a Bears team that has beaten the Lions 3 straight times on Thanksgiving. This is a Bears team that was up by, 11 points or so with 3 minutes to go in Ford Field against the Lions last year before they pulled off that miraculous comeback. And they did beat us in their place in Soldier Field in the second matchup. So it's not going to be an easy matchup in any type of easy performance. It's not going to be a cakewalk. I'm not expecting them to do what they did against Green Bay, which was shocking, and especially including the weather elements involved. I expect this to be more close to what we saw against the Vikings. Is going to be
more like tougher, a defensive
more defensive battle, a little bit more lower scoring, which is why I was a little bit surprised to see the spread open up as big as it was. I understand the Lions are a favorite, and considerably so, but admittedly, 10.5 points is a lot of points, even if you are at home and you're one of the best teams in the league. If not, some would say the consensus best overall.
Last I checked, it was 9.5. But let's check it
Yeah.
again. It's still 9.5. The
It's still
total
9.5.
over-under.
So that's a little bit of a slight reduction in the spread in the money line, but still
Yeah.
that shows you to how without not seeing that much movement, it shows how much they're confident that the Lions can win this game by 2 scores. So I could see that happening. Maybe the defense gets a pick 6 late in the game, something to that effect, but you still got to look out for players on that offense. Caleb Williams, despite being a rookie, despite him having his ups and downs, he's still a damn good player. He's been showing signs of improvement week by week. And I would say his confidence has been growing as a result. And it helps when you have guys to throw to like Roma Dunze, like DJ Moore, like Cole Kmet, like Keenan Allen, who, by the way, Lions fans should know very well of how much of a problem he was last year when the Chargers played the Lions. So, and by the way, not to mention, hi, DeAndre Swift, welcome back to Detroit. So,
Yeah.
all those factors and players to where the Bears on their best day can be a big problem for what this Lions team wants to do and wants to be able to exploit. So while their offense can be inconsistent with their performance, their defense is one reason why they haven't completely fallen off a cliff yet. Yeah, they started 4-2 and now they're 4-7, but let's not forget they've had those losses happen on the fact that you had a friggin' Hail Mary, a blocked field goal, and you would argue that had you just done a better job of moving the ball in overtime, that's another win that you let get away against Minnesota. So this Bears team, do not let that 4-7 record fool you.
Right. And the Lions defense needs to bring more pressure to Williams, who is also young, just like Anthony Richardson.
I mean, you can argue that, but let's not forget they faced a similar type of quarterback in Anthony Richardson with his build and his style and play set, and they only brought pressure less than 50% of the time. So now, would they switch it up because Caleb's a rookie? Sure, that's a possibility. But Aaron Glenn, he's not really comfortable of trying to bring the blitz on every other play or whatever or the majority of snaps. He likes to play his man coverage. He likes to play, to line his guys up and let his front seven take care of the work. But you may have some situations to where Caleb, especially with his legs and his mobility and his improvisational skills, you may need to bring an extra guy or two on those plays to keep him in contain and to keep him from getting all over the field that could potentially lead to a broken play.
Yeah, and the Lions are second in red zone defense at 40% flat. Chicago fourth in red zone defense at 41% flat.
Mm-hmm.
And both teams are tied for.
That just speaks again to right, and they're also tied in turnover differential as well.
9
Detroit is plus 9, so is Chicago.
Yeah, and both teams are tied for second with 4 red zone interceptions. While the Lions offense is fifth in converting red zone trips to touchdowns at 68.9%, the Bears are fifth at 65.4%. That margin is also close. So if I were the Lions, stick more to the run, especially starting with Jahmyr Gibbs. Give Montgomery at least a few snaps in the forthcoming battle, and also
Monty's gonna get his fair load of carries in this one because it's his former team. Let's not forget how instrumental he was in the win last year at Ford Field, getting that go-ahead touchdown in the final minute before Aiden came through with the strip sack that led to the safety. So Monty is going to be very much an important factor in this game, if not more than Jahmyr in this instance.
Yeah, and it'll also take really good play calling from Ben Johnson to keep that Lions offense on fire against that good Bears defense. That's one of those good matchups.
It's going to be an example of can Ben Johnson take what the defense gives them in terms of probably wanted to take away the deep passes, maybe experiment on some blitzes, see what Goff does against that pressure. Can you work against that? Take what they give you. Find your check downs. Find your guys across the middle of the field. Get enough protection on those plays to where you can find a JML down the field or a Laporta or a St. Brown. It's gonna feel like I'd say closer to what we saw against Minnesota, and that was like a chess match of its own with Flores between Ben Johnson and Brian Flores. So interesting to see what we see here against Chicago.
Yeah. let's make our predictions, and then I'll explain the playoff scenarios, which are 6 of them, which I will read. I will read on this script right here. So Ed, I'll let you go first.
Okay, it's long since time that this team get a win on Thanksgiving, and it doesn't speak to Dan Campbell per se, and him in terms of his staff not getting a win on Thanksgiving. The Lions have not won on Thanksgiving since 2016, so it's not him. We're talking Jim Caldwell days. We're talking Obama still in office days. That's the last time that they got a win on Thanksgiving. So
Matt
it's time to
Patricia.
flip that. Yeah, no,
So-
it was Caldwell.
Oh, I always Caldwell
Caldwell.
first, and then Matt Patricia. That's what I meant.
When did Patricia get a win on Thanksgiving?
Never.
Was it 2018 or 2017?
No, they. Oh, no. Matt Patricia never won.
Exactly.
He's included in that Thanksgiving losing streak.
Okay,
That's what
I
I was
must have
trying to
misheard.
communicate.
I must have misheard the comparison. But regardless, nevertheless, that just speaks to how important it is that for once, Lions fans want to enjoy their Thanksgiving dinner with a Lions victory. So, knowing how the momentum has been going, I don't see this being. As long as they take care of the ball and not have the issues and mistakes that we saw last year on Thanksgiving against Green Bay, and dumb mistakes such as doing a fake punt from inside your own 20, which was unnecessary, which was giving Green Bay a short field and thus easy 6 points right then and there, which, by the way, helped prove to be a difference maker in the game. As long as you don't have stuff like that happening, you stay within control of the parameters of what you have to do to win. You'll be able to get this game, and you may even be able to cover with, like I said, like say a late turnover, pick six type of deal. Maybe we see something from Kirby Joseph. Maybe we see something from Brian Branch. Who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised if they tried their best to get after Caleb, because I believe he's been sacked the most out of any quarterback in this league so far this year. I think just coming into the Minnesota game alone, he had been sacked over 40 times. So if you're the Lions, you can bring more pressure, bring more hits. Thank goodness you still have Zadarius Smith. This is why you got him. Moments in situations like this, he has been what we saw last week against Indy. He was amongst their most consistent performers on the D line. I saw him on some plays, bringing the pressure when necessary to Richardson. If he can bring that type of same spark here against Chicago, we'll be fine. Only issue is, what's the final score going to be?
Like we said, it's a defensive slugfest. The total over-under is 47.5.
Yeah,
I take the under.
I was going to say I'm leaning towards taking the under, and I think this could be a 2017, 23-20 type of deal.
So who do you think wins? Which team?
Oh, the Lions. I'm picking the Lions, but I don't think I think the Bears will cover, though.
Yep.
Now that I think
definitely.
of it.
Yep, just by a field goal. I'm going to go even lower, 16-13 Lions. So there's that. And the playoff scenarios look like this. The Lions can clinch a playoff berth if they win, plus the 49ers lose or tie, the Arizona Cardinals lose or tie, the Seahawks lose, and the Buccaneers lose or tie. That's scenario 1. Scenario 2, the Lions clinch a playoff berth if they win, plus the 49ers lose or tie, the Arizona Cardinals lose, the Seattle Seahawks tie, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lose or tie. Scenario 3, the Lions win, plus the 49ers lose or tie, the Arizona Cardinals lose or tie, the Seahawks lose, the Commanders lose or tie, and the Falcons lose, Atlanta. Scenario 4, the Lions win, plus the 49ers lose or tie, the Arizona Cardinals lose or tie, the Seahawks and Commanders both lose, and the Falcons tie. Scenario 5, the Lions win, plus the 49ers lose or tie, the Arizona Cardinals lose, the Seahawks tie, the Commanders lose or tie, and the Falcons lose. And finally, scenario 6, the Lions win, plus the 49ers lose or tie, the Arizona Cardinals lose, the Seahawks and Falcons both tie, and the Commanders lose. So those are all of them.
To keep shit simple, it's just like this. Just win and you're in. Don't worry about the outside noise. Handle your business and you'll be fine.
Exactly. So with that being said, the Red Wings have won 3 out of 4. They swept the Islanders in the season series. Lucas Raymond got both both game-winning goals against them. They lost to the Boston Bruins 2-1 on Saturday night at Little Caesars Arena, but in between. But then earlier tonight, Wednesday, they give up a game-time goal on the power play. But they score both goals on their power play. The Red Wings do. They beat the Calgary Flames 2-1 in overtime. DeBrincat with the first goal. Sari on the power play after Dylan Larkin made a dumb mistake in getting penalized for delay of game on a face-off. Still not disciplined in face-offs, unfortunately. That's the truth. But Lucas Raymond, again, delivering another game-winning goal in overtime. The Flames, by the way, committed too many men on the ice when they were changing on the fly, and they didn't even have the possession of the puck. The Red Wings did. The Flames were whistled when they finally got possession of the puck, and their Flames head coach did not like the call, and I could understand why, because they were changing. They had 5 men. I mean, looked like they had 5 men on the ice, but really, honestly, the Red Wings had possession of the puck, not the Flames. So it appears the referees may have given the Red Wings a gift, but the Red Wings took advantage.
You take them. That's the key. You take advantage of those. If you don't, then you don't deserve to win.
Exactly. The Red Wings are home against
worth mentioning though. This is the 4th straight game where they've had at least 2 goals or less allowed. So give credit to the defense and the goaltending on that regard.
Yeah, especially with Cam Talbot and Alex Lyon.
Exactly.
Yeah. They got the Devils coming up, New Jersey, Friday at 3 on Black Friday, home against the Vancouver Canucks Sunday at 12:30. Then they go to Boston, play the Bruins Tuesday at 7 on ESPN Plus, and then up in Canada against the Ottawa Senators next Thursday on FanDuel Sports Network Detroit. The Pistons.
Not that daunting of a schedule. Not that daunting of a schedule when you were consider the fact that they're only currently 3 points out of one of the wild card spots.
Exactly. The Red Wings have won 3 out of 4. Can they keep it up? Only time will tell. The Pistons have lost 3 of 4 and fall to 8-12. Jay Nivey with a game-winning buzzer beater as time expired in a 102-100 win over the Toronto Raptors. But before that, they lost to the Orlando Magic, the Charlotte Hornets in overtime, and then earlier tonight they get smashed in Memphis against the Grizzlies by the Grizzlies, 131-111. Just not enough rebounding, just a lack of defense.
Lack of defense, especially on the perimeter. The 3-point defense has been killing them this whole year, and it was not any better tonight.
Just like it has been for years.
I mean, it also didn't help where you didn't have your 2 best players in Tobias Harris and Cade Cunningham.
Right.
Cade's still dealing with that hip injury, and Tobias was dealing with an issue that kept him out of tonight's game. So you're talking about in terms of points on average between those 2 dudes, about 36, 37 points combined. So you take that out of your lineup, yeah, you're going to be facing some difficulties.
Yeah. And the Pistons go to Indiana, play the Pacers Black Friday at 8 o'clock, home against the Philadelphia 76ers Saturday at 7, home against the Milwaukee Bucks Tuesday at 7, and then they go to Boston, play the Celtics Wednesday at 7:30. All games on FanDuel Sports Network Detroit. And now
it was nice, by the way, to see Asar Thompson come back, get cleared, be able to return to game action. Saw him hit a corner 3 in his return game against the Raptors. He's going to be a needed presence on that defense for sure. But now you got to wait for Cade to get back.
Yep, which will hopefully be soon. All right, the game: Michigan Wolverines 6-5 at Ohio State 11-1. The Buckeyes in Columbus at Ohio Stadium, the Horseshoe, Saturday at noon on Fox. I know what the final result's going to be, but I'll let you take it from there.
Well, we'll keep it short and sweet. We're not trying to drag it out too long. We know what the deficiencies are, who's the favorite, who's not the favorite. Ohio State is the clear heavy favorite for good reason. Last I checked, the spread was Buckeyes at -20.5. We're talking a shade just under 3 touchdowns. speaks to how things have gone for them this season, and how things have gone for Michigan as well, particularly on in terms of offensive production. Um, One important thing to note, I don't know if it's been any update from Sharon Moore this week. Last I checked, in regards to both Will Johnson or Colston Loveland in terms of their availability for this upcoming Saturday. But I think both those players, at least in the case of Loveland, will be at the very least a game time decision. I'm more confident that we could see Loveland play on Saturday than we will see Will Johnson. That's just my gut feeling telling me that. Um, will Sharon Moore take more risk? And when I say more risk, will he be able to be more assertive and assume play calling duties or take more of play calls away from Kirk Campbell in certain spots? Because I'll be honest, yes, they were playing Northwestern, but there was some looks and some certain looks and wrinkles and some of the play calling and how somehow the offense, what they were doing last week, that looked a little bit different than what we've been used to seeing from Kirk Campbell and such over the past year. So I don't know if that was Sharon Moore saying, "Hey, listen, this isn't working. Let's try this. Let me help you out on this," or whatever the
especially
case
in the
may
second
be.
half.
Yeah, whatever the case, yeah, especially in that second half, because that first half was looking nasty. So
Yeah,
whatever
interception
adjustments they
thrown by
made in
Davis
that second
Warren.
half, yeah, whatever adjustments they made in that second half, tremendous. They needed that. You're going to need all of that and then some against in this game against this team, because you're talking about going to Columbus for these seniors on senior day. It is their final chance to obviously get a win against Michigan, but their final chance to perform in front of their home crowd in Columbus in that horseshoe. And a lot of those players that were there, like in Emeka Ibuka, they remember 2022. They remember Donovan Edwards running wild. They remember J.J. McCarthy doing the wave goodbye. So they have those painful memories, and I would not be surprised to see him take those bad memories out on these Wolverines players, unfortunately. But it's still going to come down to, amongst many things, but probably the most important thing is who wins the run back. Just to make sure this was correct, but yes, it is absolutely true. In the last 22 Michigan or Ohio State games, the team that has run the ball better, i.e., has more rushing yards, they win the game. So obviously, if you're Michigan, and frankly, this is right up your wheelhouse, because no, you can't throw the ball worth a lick to save your lives, but you do have a strength in running the ball, especially with Khalil Mullings and Donovan Edwards being that tandem duo for you. The offensive line is not as strong as it used to be, obviously, but you still know what works for you and what doesn't on that offense. So if you have any chance of winning the game, especially knowing that Ohio State's going to probably try their best to lock down on that and force you to be one-dimensional and force you into passing, you guys still see what you can do to at least make some damage on the ground, because whatever you're doing, if you're not doing anything with running the ball, you're pretty much going to be stuck in the mud all day.
Yep. So, of
You
course,
got a
no
score?
prediction needed. Well, I'm going to say Ohio State 38, Michigan 17.
This is either going to be one or two. This game is going to end in one or two ways. It's either going to be Ohio State winning by 30, or it's going to be Ohio State winning way closer than what they should be winning by. But I'm still going to pick the Buckeyes to win this one. Will they cover? I'm going to go on a limb and say no, but I wouldn't be surprised. So it's not as a confident pick in terms of whether or not Michigan can cover the spread, but it's more about what can Ohio State do, and can they win and cover them for themselves. We'll see. That's the more challenge. That's the more question I want to see, especially if they're not going to be facing Will Johnson out there.
Right. All right. So one more thing before we get to what we've learned. The Michigan State Spartans lost to the Memphis Tigers 71-63 in the Maui Invitational semifinal, but they beat the number 12 North Carolina Tar Heels in the third place game in overtime, 94-91. They blew a lead in regulation, allowing a three a few seconds before the buzzer. They had a chance to win it at the buzzer, but they collided and didn't even get a shot off. But my goodness, I thought Michigan State was going to collapse, but the Spartans hung in there, obviously, and they somehow escaped with a victory.
And Michigan's taking care of business in the Fort Myers tip-off as well. I believe they beat
Xavier.
Virginia Tech this past Monday, and I think they
Yep.
took care of, what was it, Xavier?
Xavier, yeah, 78-53.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
Xavier's
good on the
lifeless.
Wolverines for that.
Yeah, the Xavier Musketeers are lifeless. Wolverines took full advantage of that. So, what have we learned?
Frankly, Taylor, we learned that the Red Wings are still a work in progress, as are the Pistons. Learning to win games in tough situations. In the Pistons' case, they're still trying to figure out their identity as a team. In the Red Wings' case, they're trying to get themselves out of the bad start that they put themselves in with their play. They have no one to blame but themselves. We learned that while Michigan at least had themselves a good week last week, getting Bryce Underwood, getting the big win on Senior Day against Northwestern, we also got to learn that reality can still bite badly. So that is the reality that they're going to be looking at once they head into Columbus for this upcoming Saturday. And what we also learned is that with the Lions, despite injuries, despite whatever issues that may be befuddling them, this is still a team that, which was, again, I found this stat to be crazy in terms of under the Dan Campbell tenure, they started 0-11-1 on their road games.
Yep.
They've been 16-5 ever since. We learned
That's
that they have finally, for the first time ever in their franchise history, won 10 games in back-to-back consecutive seasons. And we learned that this is still continuing to be the best start to a season for them since 1934, which was their very first year in Detroit.
Yeah, exactly. And Dan Campbell points out a lot of stuff in his post-game locker room celebrations, especially with
the stat guy. That's credit to the stat guys getting them on there and getting them to him in time, so that it helps influence what he has to do with the game balls.
Exactly, that's teamwork.
Because trust me, he learned his mistake from not giving a game ball to Goff after his perfect game on Monday night against the Seahawks.
Right, exactly. So
that's why he started implementing the stats.
Exactly. So those are all the things that we have learned in this episode of the Michigan Sports Truth podcast on the Huddle Sports Network. I'm Taylor Phillips. He's Ed Smith. Follow the Michigan Sports Truth podcast on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Michigan_Truth. And like its Facebook page, subscribe to its YouTube channel at the Michigan Sports Truth podcast, like its videos, and turn on all notifications on the bell icon. Watch its live episodes in full to learn everything about our teams. Follow it and listen to it in audio form on Spreaker. Also, join its supporters club. Follow me on X, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube at DT2Phillips. Follow Ed Smith on X, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, Blue Sky, and YouTube at EdSmith313. Business shoutouts go to Allen's Auto Sales in St. Louis and Grand Rapids, Athletico Physical Therapy on Woodward and Ferndale, the B4 Foundation, Best Buy with Geek Squad in Traverse City, Cadillac Grill, Cadillac Nutrition, Cali Tickets. Call 877-225-8425 or visit CaliTickets.com. Creative Embroidery of Cadillac for designing the Michigan Sports Truth podcast logo on my long sleeve shirt and t-shirt. Cuts by Melanie in Lake City. I am due for a haircut next Tuesday morning at 9:30, just a few minutes away. The El Cilantro Taco Shop in Petoskey, way up north from my neck of the woods. Baldwin Family Health Care Dental Center in Cadillac. Hooters of Saginaw. It's a Denise Jewelry in Lake City. Let's Roll With It Rolled Ice Cream in Cadillac. Like them on Facebook. Follow them on TikTok at The Food Mafia LLC and on Instagram at The Food Mafia Rolled Ice Cream. Michigan Coffee Company in Cadillac West. Northern Auto Lab in Lake City. Northern Star Event Rentals in Cadillac 231-884-8195 and on Facebook. Pro Quality Cleaners of Cadillac. Raven Socials Restaurant on South Mitchell Street in downtown Cadillac, Union Barber in Birmingham and Ferndale, United Food Service Solutions of Grand Ledge, Michigan, United Mobile Power Wash and Dry Ice Works in Southfield, and Wellbeing with Catherine Palms. The Michigan Sports Truth podcast is a presentation of the Huddle Sports Network. We'll be back Wednesday night prior to the Lions-Packers game at Ford Field. which is on Thursday Night Football. And, of course, we'll recap the Lions and Bears and check on the Red Wings and Pistons, of course, and we'll recap the game, Michigan and Ohio State, if necessary. But anyway, until then, Fred Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips, signing off saying Happy Thanksgiving. And remember, we always observe and detect the truth about Michigan sports because the truth is out there. Stay on the lookout. Hit him with a hind. Happy Thanksgiving.
Take care, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Ta-ta.